And now it's time for today's daily forecast with EPAWA meteorologist Bobby Martrich.
Hey, good Thursday morning to you. It is September 6, 2018. I have a lot to cover in this video today beyond the normal scope of the 7-day forecast. We're going to get into an extended version today. It's going to be a little bit longer. We're going to talk about the hurricane threat out in the Atlantic, which is Hurricane Florence. And I have to address this because we have several models that are indicating a very close call or direct hit along the East Coast. So I do want to address those concerns in this video and kind of show what we're looking for over the next several days to see what could or make or break that hurricane as it approaches the East Coast of the United States. So don't really like talking about it this early, but I have to address it because it's just floating around social media and everybody has access to models and things like that. So I have to at least put some kind of context to this so people understand what's going on and what could or could not happen. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with. And we'll start off with a cold front today that's going to be moving through, but it's going to take its time doing so. So I think it's going to get up above 90 degrees in many of our at least central and southern locations today, with the southwesterly flow continuing out ahead of the front. And it'll be hot and humid, again, in some places getting above 90 for the fourth straight day. So this is the latest heat wave that will come to an end today with this cold front moving through. It will have scattered showers and thunderstorms along the front, but it's going to start off in north central Pennsylvania, northeast PA, mid-afternoon or so. So here's a look at this is 3 o'clock. So figure like 2, 3 o'clock, you have the scattered showers and thunderstorms that are initiating up at this point, and they're going to slowly migrate their way south and east. So by the time we get to 6 p.m., they're still over pretty much the same areas. They haven't gone too far south from that point. But as we get later in the evening, here's a look at 8 o'clock. It gets along down to about I-78 or pretty close to it. So from Harrisburg to Allentown to Newark, New Jersey, we have the scattered thunderstorms in the forecast here for 8 o'clock. Now we have some important events, a couple of them. One is the Philadelphia Eagles are playing their first home game of the season. And that is against the Atlanta Falcons. It is an 8:20 p.m. kickoff. So according to the NAM high-res future simulated radar, we're okay at 8 o'clock. But as we get through the course of the game, we'll have the opportunity for these scattered thunderstorms to move in a weakened state into the region around 11. So if that's the case, most of the game, if not all, should be rain-free and maybe a threat at the end of the game for a shower or thunderstorm. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But the BMW Golf Championship, the PGA Golf Championship, can't spit it out. The BMW Championship is this weekend, also near Philly, and we looks like the first round should go through without any problems. Okay, so we won't have any issues to deal with there. I'm just looking maybe sometime around the second half, favoring toward the end of the game, the Eagles game, to have an opportunity for a scattered shower or thunderstorm moving through. That frontal boundary move off to the south, and it will be stalling near the Delmarva region. So go figure. That's what we've been having a lot of lately. And because of that, scattered showers will be in the forecast nearest that front. So you might get unscathed up here in northeast PA, north central Pennsylvania, but further south, the opportunity for scattered showers are there on Friday. It won't be an all-day washout, but you'll have an opportunity for those scattered showers to move through, and the better chance the further south you go closest to that frontal boundary. And then that's going to continue overnight Friday night and at least the first part of Saturday. Here's Saturday morning, and see, closest to the Mason-Dixon line, South Jersey and Delaware, you have the rain continuing. Further north, it's dry, probably just cloudy at this point, but this front is going to sink off to the south during the course of the day on Saturday. So you're going to have clearing from north to south. It's going to take a while for the southern areas to clear out, but we do think this front will continue off to the south, as you can see here. Continues off to the south during the day, so by the time we get to the evening, still showers across Delaware, South Jersey, but areas further north, we're going to get into some breaks in the clouds and maybe some sun coming out before the end of the day here on Saturday. So we get into Sunday, and that front is still going to be off to the south. We have another system moving off to our west. This is actually the remnants of what was once Tropical Storm Gordon, and it's going to continue off through the Great Lakes up in this direction like this. So all this heavy rain that's in the Ohio Valley associated with that remnant low will be moving north of the region, it looks like, and not through our area. So it will be dragging a warm front through the region if you draw this just like a regular low, because that's all it really is at this point. You have a warm front sitting out here like this, cold front down here like this, and this is all moving off to the north. So you could have a spotty shower here with that front moving northward here overnight Sunday night, but it looks like most of Sunday is dry also. And that front blows off to the north, and we are warm sectored on Monday, so there's an opportunity for some scattered showers and thunderstorms in between the warm front off to the north and the cold front to the west. So we'll have to watch Monday for maybe some severe potential, but that's a little bit getting ahead of ourselves. I don't want to get too far ahead with that. Looks like the cold front itself associated with that system will move through here on Tuesday, and there could be some isolated scattered activity along that frontal boundary later in the day on Tuesday. And then once we get to Wednesday, still an isolated to scattered chance for showers or thunderstorms. This will be later in the day, probably more isolated here on Wednesday. Now you see sneaking down to the bottom of your picture, this is off of the 18Z GFS that I'm using right here, and this is what it's showing of where Hurricane Florence will be at this time. Now, a lot goes into this to say where this is going to be. This is the European model had a very similar track, and just because the European model, the 18Z GFS that ran today, are in pretty close agreement on track, does not mean they're going to be correct. This is a day 8 forecast, so this is 8 days away. Plenty of time below, at least when this model ran. It was over 8 days at this point when the model ran to show that this was going to be right here and then moving up near Ocean City, Maryland here after this point. And that would be a pretty catastrophic hurricane. So you can see where the buzz is on the internet. This is why everybody's getting excited and getting concerned. And I understand that concern, but there's a couple things that are involved in this that can make or break this. Is this possible? Yes, probably not at this intensity, but this thing is all the way out here in the Atlantic. This is the only satellite image I can really get right now because it's so far out in the Atlantic. It's way out here. This is the east coast of the United States, and this is very, very far out in the Atlantic. Puerto Rico's all the way down here. Here's Lester Antilles that hasn't even gotten maybe halfway across the Atlantic yet. So it's got a long ways to go. Okay, so that's what we're looking at, where it is. Now, what we're looking for the next couple of days with this hurricane is where it's going to go and what would steer it. The steering currents, everything should continue off kind of like in this direction like this, going to continue off of the west-northwest. This is where the model's projected to be on Sunday evening. Now, this is the make-or-break point, I think. This is make-or-break point number 1. There's a weakness in between a ridge out here. There's a ridge right here, and you see there's another little ridge trying to form right up here, okay? In between, there's a little bit of a weakness, and this is a trough. You see that right here, okay? What hurricanes typically like to do is they like to follow the path of least resistance. This out here, this ridge, this is resistance. This eventually would be resistance. The trough here is not resistance. It's a weakness, so it could end up following that weakness and head out like this aimlessly out to sea, and no big deal. And this will be way out to sea if that were to occur. So we should know by Sunday whether or not it's going to follow that little path of weakness and split the two ridges, so to speak, because it's going to have a small window to do so. If it doesn't do that, look what happens. Another ridge builds in over the top and it connects. So you have two ridges here, and now it shuts off this weakness. So it's trying to follow that weakness, and then it can't, because the ridge builds in over the top, and look what happens. Okay, and it can't go through that ridge. It has to go around it. So this would force, a ridge is just another fancy name for high pressure. You got high pressure, higher heights right here. Obviously a clockwise flow around high pressure. So this is going to continue to steer this out in this direction like this. And that's what it's doing. So it only has one way to go because this ridge is here. So if it can't find that weakness, there's still another chance for it not to miss the coast, and that is, what does this ridge do right here that's building over the top? What does it do? How long does it stay here? Does this actually move out of the way to allow this to maybe come close to the coast, but then curve out like this if this gets out of the way? And of course, we don't know this yet. These are things we're looking for over the next couple of days. For me to say, hey, if somebody says, hey, Bobby, what do you think's going to happen with this hurricane? I don't know. I don't know. I won't know. I'll have a better idea on Sunday. Probably have a better idea Saturday, but more so Sunday. If I don't see it following that first weakness there, then at that point, does it come? How close to the coast does it come? Because it will come toward the coast. It could be in the southeastern United States. If this ridge is a little bit further southwest, it could be miss the coast entirely, which is, of course, entirely possible. And you see this ridge is building over the top. And look what it does. It just continues to force it westward. So that's what the bright reds are here. And that's why it takes it into the northeast United States, because it has nowhere to go. It forces it into the coast. But if this ridge is further east or it's a little weaker, it might allow it to just come close to the coast and just you'll be dealing with heavy rip currents instead of a direct hit. Okay? And this is the European model of 500 millibars, very similar to the GFS I just showed you. Here's the problem, though. The model ensembles, which are individual runs of the individual run that I showed you before, which is this one. Oh, not that one. Where is it at? I'll find it eventually. This one. This is the operational run, okay? These are the ensemble runs. The operational run is this blue line right here and what it did. See that blue line right there? That is the operational run. Look how many of its own individual ensemble members actually agree with that. There's a few that bring it up here in this area, but a lot of these are recurving it out like this, and that's because it's finding that weakness or that ridge is not as strong as advertised. Now, we don't know these answers to these questions yet, and that's why we have to just continue to monitor over the next 8 days. Make sure you have a hurricane plan in place if you're along the coastline here, just in case. Make sure it's updated. Everything is good to go there. It's never a bad idea to be prepared. However, this being 8 days away, I do not expect something like this to come to fruition in this region. Is it possible? Sure, anything's possible. But to take this seriously at this point is very futile, and we're going to continue to follow this over the next couple of days for the reasons I just mentioned and the uncertainties that exist along the way, and hopefully we'll have a clearer picture. Each day we do this video, it probably won't be until we get to early next week until we have a firm handle on it. But we can, in the meantime, just be careful of these model runs. They're a little scary looking, and we don't want to incite panic, certainly. So just make sure you continue to follow along. We'll give these updates daily and continue to let you know what the latest information is on Florence. I'm Eastern PA Weather Authority meteorologist Bobby Marchus. That is your outlook for September 6, 2018. Have a great Thursday.